the FatBeats.
To the stairwell to FatBeats. FatBeats they play on.
What's up, everyone? I am DJ Eclipse. Welcome to FatBeats Behind the Counter podcast. And if you caught the last one with all the dope guests we had celebrating Hip Hop History Month in November, you're going to enjoy this one as well because we having the place to be. My man, my mellow Masta Ace.
Yes. What's up?
Yeah, Juice Crew, all that good stuff. My man, Marco Polo next to him.
What up, what up?
You know what I'm saying? Yes, my man over here to the far left is Shawn J, period, producer extraordinaire.
Yes, Mr. Shawn.
Good to be here.
Yeah, and then closing out the session here is my man Chip Fu from the Fooshnickens in the place as well.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. A lot of talent in the place, a lot of stories in the place. And one thing I want to kind of focus on this particular episode is that all y'all, for the most part, came from some sort of major label background, whether it was an indie distributed by a major, but you had that kind of push behind you. And all of y'all have transitioned into being very independent and going an independent route. And so we want to kind of talk about that history, the differences, and how that transition was for all y'all to do that. So Masta Ace and Marco Polo have releases out right now through FatBeats. They have the Brooklyn Story album, which came out a few years back, and then they also have the more recent one, Richmond Hill, entirely produced by Marco. Ace on the vocals, guest appearances, all that good stuff. So that's where we're at now. But going back now to the beginning of time. Ace, when you got on, you came in through the Juice Crew with Marley. Your first release or releases was through it was Prism Records, which was a division of Cold Chillin'.
Correct. My very first single was on Prism, which was really the testing label for Cold Chillin'. They would put a single out on Prism to see what the sales did, and then decide if they wanted to roll you into an album or not. So my first single was on Prism, and then because that particular single, the B-side of it blew up in London. That's how I got my album deal.
Right, and that was the B-side was Letter to the Better?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a big record, absolutely. So then when you got the album deal, because also during that time, Cold Chillin' at the beginning was still independent.
Yeah.
And then ended up getting major distribution through like, the Warners. Now, I can't remember, was your release distributed through the Warner Brothers channel?
Yes,
okay.
It was. And I was like I was signed, working on my album, right at the cusp of them getting that Warner deal. So I just remember like all of a sudden everybody's showing up with new cars and fur coats. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, it just turned into a whole different thing. I just started seeing, cars and fur coats and something had changed.
Right.
So I definitely was there when that transition happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then let's just discuss. Obviously, the money was coming into the label.
Yeah.
What was the work ethic like in terms of not just what you were doing, but like how the records were coming out? Because I'm assuming back then for you, it was more your responsibility was here's the music, and then you kind of just sat back and they took everything from there.
Yeah, it was more Marley's response. Marley had the relationship with Cold Chillin', not me. Okay. I didn't really know anybody up there when I started out. He had the relationship. He put out, his compilation through Cold Chillin', right. Warner Brothers, and that was kind of like the catalyst because I was on that song, The Symphony. That was the catalyst to them saying, well, people know him now. Maybe, we'll do an album with him. But Marley was really the connection between me and the label. It wasn't until probably towards the end of us completing the album when I started feeling comfortable to go up to the label and meet everybody and get, but they didn't know who I was at first initially. I was an unknown, complete unknown.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And rest in peace to Fly Tie and Magic as well.
R.I.P.
And Biz.
And Mr. C.
And Mr. C. Yes, absolutely.
And T.J. Swan.
And T.J. Swan. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of people going.
And Granddaddy IU.
And Granddaddy IU. Yeah, he was kind of like the tail end of the Juice Crew stuff. Yeah. So now music's being turned in, records are coming out. Even though you might not have been hands-on with the people at the label, were there things that they had you doing, whether that was coming through Marley or not, like in terms of promotion stuff? Were you going out to do radio appearances, or video shoots and like that? Because that had to be orchestrated from the label, I'm assuming.
Yeah. once we were at the point of figuring out what the first single was, that's when that was the first moment where I realized that it's bigger than these people in this small little office.
Right.
Because the conversation came up about what my first single was going to be, and I was very much adamant that I wanted Music Man to be my first single.
Right.
I felt like it was like the proper representation of me coming out for the very first time. And Warner Brothers, specifically Benny Medina, not only did he disagree, but he the statement that I heard over the speakerphone was, if Me and Biz isn't the first single, you're not going to get a second single. So that was the first little heavy-handed thing that I felt from a major, and seeing that I don't really have control. I don't have a say in this situation. And so that was kind of like the beginning of my mentality about what majors were. And I was just like, wow, like I can't even pick my single. Like, so that's pretty much, that was my first kind of like experience with what being on a major was going to be about.
Right. And this was what? This was 90?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. 90. All right.
Yep.
Chip Fu.
Yes, sir.
Similar situation. Fu Schnickens got signed to Jive.
Right.
What was this? What was that? Was 92?
91.
91. First single, Ring the Alarm. Produced by Livio G. Shout out to Livio G. Little tidbit there. Livio G and P Fine had a radio show on WNYU, which me and Riz followed in their footsteps years later. So getting signed, how did you guys even go about getting signed to Jive?
I think they had they had competitions in the city at like a club called Woody's and the Building, and every time they had a competition, we'd actually go there. But they were having reggae and dancehall competitions.
Right.
So I would go there and sign up for the reggae and the dancehall side, and I'd win both sides, and then that started getting people's attention. And I think it was Jamal Ski who started telling people, that kid is nice. He could do reggae and hip hop. Right. So I think word traveled back to Jive, and Sophia Chan came down to one of the shows. She was the A&R at the time, and she saw us perform and was like, I think you guys got something. And then the buzz started from there.
Okay. And then to Ace's point about picking singles and all that stuff, were you guys on the same page with what you wanted the first single to be and all that? And
man, it was weird because there was a whole bunch of singles we wanted, but I think it was more so what the company understood would generate revenue for them.
Right.
It wasn't more so about the artists at that time after we finished recording. Because I remember after we recorded Ring the Alarm, Sophia called in Tony D, producer Tony D, who was doing whatever for Poor Righteous Teachers, and she was like, well, this is the single that we picked. And he was like, yo, that's a straight dancehall record that you guys are about to put out. Like, you guys are going to put out a dancehall record, but they're a hip-hop group. So you could tell that in Sophia's face at the time, she was like, well, yo, I'm just going to roll the dice and see what happened. And at the time, Jive was distributed through RCA. They didn't get the BMG deal. So we saw the same thing, that when they got the BMG deal, people were coming through different elevators and there were different cars parked downstairs, and everybody was able to use Battery Studios when they wanted, what I'm saying? So, but other than that, that's when we saw things change, and we had to start making decisions for ourselves. But I understood at that particular point in time that if you had stronger management on your team, that they would kind of bend, what I mean? So that's what we used to our advantage. And
Ace, did you even have management at that particular time?
I had management, but not. I had representation, but she wasn't a strong enough presence to really help my situation very much. She gave me a lot of good advice, but as far as like coming up to the label and telling them what was what, I didn't have that.
Got you.
I didn't have that person.
Got you. And then Chip, with the production on that, Livio did joints on the album, but then you also had Tribe producing on that. How did that come about?
Well, the funniest thing is Fife, his family knows Pac Fu's family that lived across the street from me. So Fife used to come around the way, and I'd see him outside playing football, etc., but didn't know what it was going to turn out to be. So when we finally got signed to Jive and knew that Fife was there, Fife was like, let's do a record. Ali Shaheed came in and we played him the demo, and he was like, something, I'm gonna produce some songs for you guys. And then he ended up doing the bulk of the album, which was a blessing, because then everybody was like, well, they gotta they probably part of the native tongue
Right.
family, etc. And it all moved from there. And then we had Latifah managing us at the time, so it all looked like it was native tongue related, which kind of helped us because we were able to lean on the label a different way. You know
Sure,
what I mean?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Shawn J. Period.
Mr. Shawn.
You had a group down south.
Yes.
Was the name of the group,
Yes.
and it was on Big Beat, and that was that going through Atlantic at the time, or was that
Initially, when we got, I mean, it was like just at the cusp of it, because Craig, who actually I think he's still CEO to this day,
Yeah.
or
Craig-
at least
Craig
past-
Kalman.
Craig Kalman?
Kalman, yeah. So the it was initially his label, Big Beat,
yeah.
and then you could tell it happened probably a year in,
Okay.
because he transitioned up, and then another person came in. So
Right. Okay. And then you guys were was it Virginia? You guys were coming out of?
Virginia, yes,
Right.
Richmond. Yeah.
Richmond, Virginia. And how did you guys secure your deal with Big Beat?
Actually, Mayor, the DJ, he used to intern in the summer. So he and Bobito worked at Def Jam together, and then obviously Bobito and Stretch had the show, Stretch and Bobito show. So and Stretch was the A&R at Big Beat,
along with Reef.
correct. Well, Reef came in
Okay.
later, so that's basically the connection from that point. So.
Got you. All right. And you guys get signed to there. And so what was were you guys still in Richmond at the time, or did you come to New York when
We moved. I was in, let's say, sophomore year of college.
Okay.
So at that point, we got signed in the winter. So basically, we finished the semester, and then we came in the springtime.
Okay. All right. And so what was your experience with, putting out the album during that time and, dealing with a label that had staff and all of that? Like, did they have you guys doing the radio runs and, all retail runs and anything like that?
Yeah, it took a while actually to get, let's say about 2 years to get it done.
Okay.
And when we signed, we were under the name J Team, right? Because all our last names start with J.
Okay.
But then they were like, on paper it was J Team, but then we wanted to come up with a new name.
Okay.
And so that was the time when Arrested Development, a lot of the Southern groups. So we were working on names as we were working on the album,
Right.
and then it got to a point where within, let's say, that 2 year span, that's when we really started to do a lot of the promo. But it was just a single release, the Southern Comfort,
Right.
the album Lost in Brooklyn, and then we were released from the label, soon thereafter. Because obviously what you're saying as far as like that, we got the opportunity to do the album, but then they're looking at sales,
Right.
Yep.
and
Right.
and that was it,
Yeah. And what year was that? 92?
We got signed in 92.
Okay, 92. All right, cool. Marco Polo has no albums from back then.
Not a major, no. Raucous on the second
Yes,
coming,
absolutely.
but not a major for sure.
Yeah.
Started indie from the jump.
Yes, you did. But one thing I wanted to mention, though, because you're from Canada, and Canada has a great system for supporting Canadian artists, whether it's the fact that they have to play, what's the percentage they have to play of Canadian artists?
CanCon. I don't know what the percentage is now,
Okay.
but the radio has to be a certain. It protects Canadian artists, so 40% has to be
Yeah.
Canadian, which is could be pros and cons, but it's good.
Yeah.
Besides that, I'd like to say they have many grants.
That's my next
That's
thing,
the
yeah.
best thing is that you
Yes.
can apply for funding for videos, for albums, privately funded, donated government stuff, and it's incredible. And I still have access to it today.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
that's so crazy. And now with that process, is it can you apply for things before you've even made the album to put towards the album, or do you actually have to have the album done and in place to
No, you have to write a proposal.
Okay.
It's pretty intense on the paperwork side. It's not just like, hey, I'm Canadian, give me money. Like you have to do a lot of stuff, and also you have to use Canadian people. So
Okay.
if I made an album, the mix engineer has to be from Canada.
Gotcha.
The mastering person, they really control it. But it's a great system, and hopefully we can use it for album number 3. Right, Ace?
All I gotta do is change my citizenship. And we good.
No, it's me. I'm 50% Canadian. We good. You don't have to do nothing. So.
Okay, but then in terms of putting out music, you did a couple of production credits on a couple of 12 inches, but I believe the first big thing would be the Pumpkinhead album?
That was my first full album.
Yeah.
Like for an MC,
Yeah.
absolutely. Was working with Pumpkinhead, rest in peace, for sure. Yep.
Yeah,
Cutting room days.
Right. And then Newport Authority, or Port Authority, sorry.
Well, actually, my first actual release, funny, I just ran in, shouts to Planet Asia and Rasco. I just ran into them in Cali. But Rasco put out a project of mine called Canned Goods on his label, Pockets Linted. It had 3 full songs, Scoop, from DOS Effects, Wordsworth,
Right.
and Rascal, and the rest were just beats. So that's like technically my first full release.
Okay.
But Pumpkinhead's the first MC that let me like produce, minus one song produced by Moss from
Shelton
Toronto.
Moss, yep.
And then from there, it went into Port Authority
Right.
recording and meeting Ace at Cutting Room and working on Random Joints, working on his album. And then the boot camp stuff went crazy. And then, that was my early New York journeys.
Absolutely. Ace, so now what was your exit from Cold Chillin'? Like, what was the reason, the experience, like, why you left?
So we did one album. I was in the studio working on the second album, which would have come out in 91 or 92. And during that time, from 90 to about 92, Cold Chillin' just went on a signing spree. They signed Kid Capri, they signed Diamond Shell, they signed IU was there at that point. There's like 3 other groups.
Wasn't there like some kids they signed? Like I remember the cover had like one tall kid, one short kid. I can't
Yeah,
remember what the name of the group was,
yes.
though. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But it was like 4 or 5 groups.
Right.
And between 90 and 92, Warner was like, this is getting a little crowded. We're all over the place. We need to trim the fat here and kind of figure out who we keeping and who we're dropping. And so they made a list of, it must have been 15 names on the list. And they drew a line. And they were like, everybody above that line we're keeping, everybody below that line we're dropping. My name was the name right below the line. I was the name right below the line. So I remember seeing that. I doubt it, but maybe I saved that paper.
Right.
But I used to save stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I remember being the name below. Now I was like 10 songs into this album that was supposed to be the second album for Cold Chillin'. I still got a lot of those records too. And so Fly Ty was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. He's like, well, let's just put out your album on Prism. And I was like, nah, I'm not feeling that. Like, I'm not doing that. And so immediately, at this point, I had a new manager, and he had relationships with other labels. So he started fielding other opportunities. One was Rough House in Philly, and the other one was Delicious Vinyl. And they were both brought offers, and the Delicious Vinyl deal made more sense. And so we went with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, of the second album that you were recording, I know you said you're sitting on a bunch of that stuff, but did any of that stuff make the Slaughterhouse album, or was it totally different vibe?
None of those songs made the album, but a couple of bars from a couple of rhymes from that album ended up on the Slaughterhouse album. But for the most part, those songs are just shelved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with the release of the Slaughterhouse album, you had the Born to Roll single, which came after, right? That was like the remix of the version that was on the album.
Correct. The Born to Roll version wasn't until Slaughterhouse came out in 93 on Delicious, and then I did a remix in 94, and it blew up in right around 94, going into 95 is when Born to Roll just took off and turned into this whole crazy phenomenon. Radio never had radio play like that before. Never got that type of rotation before until that one song.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what were you doing during that process? Because now it seems like you actually had more of a reason, more of a team to be out there, running around and having this label support you.
It was so being on Delicious was a lot better than being on Cold Chillin' just because of the relationships that we had. Like I felt like more comfortable to just go up there, walk in the president's office, sit down, I had a rapport with them that I didn't have at Cold Chillin'. Right. So it felt more like of a family vibe. And so I even though they were on the West Coast and many people thought that I actually had started living there, moved there. I didn't. I was just signed there, so I had to spend a lot of time there because I needed access to the label. But they had their team, their radio team. They hired a bunch of college kids to blow up Born to Roll on the box, and they're sitting around a table, making phone calls, requesting it, boosting the numbers up, doing all of that type of stuff. So that was definitely different than when I was on Cold Chillin', because I was on a label where everybody was a star, from MC Shan, Roxanne Shante, Big Daddy Kane, Biz Marquis, Cool G Rap. All these people were ahead of me in terms of my profile at the label.
Sure.
So now at Delicious, the only two artists that they were really focused on was me and Farside. So it was like a much more comfortable.
Sure.
I felt more like more of a priority when I was there. When I was
Sure.
there, yeah.
And then with Born to Roll, did that ever get added to the album?
Yeah. So the success of Born to Roll prompted Mike Ross and his brother to ask me to do more records that spoke to the car culture audience. And they were like, your next album should really kind of just be this. And so I'm like, all right, so I understand what you're asking me for. That means I got to go in the studio now and kind of think with the mindset of making records that are kind of for cruising, for driving, got that crazy bottom to them. And I came up with this concept for Sitting on Chrome, and I delivered the album that they asked me to deliver. Now I'm looking at them like I saw their past success. They had Tone Loc, platinum
MC.
artist, Young MC, platinum artist. So I'm like, well, if I give them what they're asking for, maybe I can be one of those. Maybe I can get that plaque. So it wasn't what I creatively would have done in the studio without them asking me to do that. So Sitting on Chrome album was really contrived to a certain extent by the label, giving me direction. And, it was those directions and kind of like shaping your creative process that I was ready to be away from. When I went indie, I'm like, I'm never again.
Right.
I don't want no input from nobody. I just want to do what feels right to me, and that's it. And so that was my final experience of them telling me what kind of they didn't pick beats out for me, but they were telling me what kind of album to do.
Right.
And it didn't work. They kind of fumbled the ball.
Right.
And from there, right from that moment when they didn't take that album where it was supposed to go, I said, I'm never ever dealing with this again. I'm going to do what I want to do. Nobody in a suit is going to tell me what kind of records to make.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Chip, album's out there, does well. Next album, next process. How did things start to change or differ from the first one?
Things started changing because there were more money up at Jive, and again, being around Tribe and KRS-One and Souls of Mischief and everybody, it's like you still had to keep going. So I was offered a solo deal.
Okay.
And I said to myself, I don't think it was time for that deal to happen. There was like, it's either you're going to do the solo deal or you're going to do another Fushnikins album. So we did another Fushnikins album, and it went gold. So for me, it's just like, if we're having such success, when it was time to do certain things, they just wouldn't allow us to do it. Like, I'm the type of person that's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Ring the Alarm drops. It was embraced by Canada first, and then it came back across to the U.S., and then it got remixed by Sly and Robbie and everybody and their moms in Jamaica, and came back, and then that went gold.
Right.
First album goes platinum. Second album goes gold. So I'm sitting there saying, okay, well, now we can dictate, certain things moving forward. And it was like, nah, this is what we want you guys to try. No disrespect to Will Smith. That's what Will Smith does.
Right.
I can't do stuff like that. You know what I mean? I can't do stuff like that. So for me, it was just like, we might as well just, leave the label. But, with Jive, if you sign to the label side, you sign to the publishing side.
Right.
So even though we were out of the label side, we were still signed to publishing. So that's why I didn't release any records for years. You know what I'm saying? And then we signed with Howard Kaufman, and then he lost distribution. And then we went to, actually, it's funny stories about to sign over at Aftermath.
Okay.
They were going to sign us and sign Special Ed, actually. A lot of people don't know that.
Okay.
And then that went south. And then I was just like, I'm just not going to do music for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And then I just
Well, you're not going to do music publicly because
a lot of
still
people
recorded.
Yeah, like I started recording all these reggae records and putting them out, and they just started taking off. And then there's one particular record that I recorded at Marco Polo's house. Right? A lot of people don't know this.
Okay.
I recorded, I came, here's a funny thing. I was in school at the same time too, doing physical therapy, etc. And then I had to sit the board exam. So when I sat the exam, the following day was a Thursday, they was like, man, you missed this by 3 points. You should just go back and do it. I said, nah, man, fuck that. I ain't going back to do that. And then I called Marco. I said, I got this record I want to record. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, but he does hip hop music. What is he gonna know if I go there and I bring this record to him? That wasn't the case.
Okay.
I went over to him. We recorded it in your house, correct?
Either that or Peter's studio.
No, we didn't record. We recorded it in your house.
Okay, got
Right?
you. My apartment. All
We
right.
went inside there. I did over the Herbs Come Around record or whatever. Everybody was doing their remixes to this. I went and I did it. Well, no one ain't know I could sing reggae like that.
Right.
Sang the record or whatever, and it made it to Hot 97. So everybody was like, yo, we playing this record. I don't know who the hell this dude is, but everybody else who had the remixes, because they paid Shaba to do a remix. They paid G-Unit and everybody to do these remixes. They stopped playing those remixes.
Wow.
I started playing my song. So I'm sitting there going, well, what am I going to do? Because if I say that it's me, then Jive going to be like, well, still
Right.
sign the publishing or whatever. So I was
man.
like, yo, I'm just going to not say nothing. But I toured off of that record heavy. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for that.
Wow.
I never really, said, how I felt about that. But I appreciate you, bro.
It's like
Because
20 years ago.
that's
crazy.
20 years ago. And 'cause from your house, I went and
And
I
shouts
gave
to
it.
Peter, because Peter's the one that connected us. Remember Peter, my neighbor,
Yeah,
played
yeah,
bass?
yeah, yeah.
That's the
I
reason
still-
that all happened, right?
Yeah, no.
No?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm very sure.
Oh, okay.
We knew each other before Peter. We were
Okay.
just shocked that when I was recording at the corner that you lived right next
Right
door to the
there.
studio.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
bro,
Fort
we
Greene.
never worked before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So after that record, it took off serious.
Oh, I'm glad.
Thank you very much. It took off serious. It was able to feed family and all that other stuff. Going under a different moniker. You know what I
Right.
mean? But
Amazing.
it worked. You
Yeah.
know, so at that point I was like, yo, I don't think I really want to do the sign to a regular label thing anymore, because I had super control, and it's not like we mixed or mastered anything. We just did it
know
in
what
this
the
crib
hell I
and we
was
just-
doing. Like, record.
We were recording, but it worked, and
It worked.
I said from that
I'm
point
glad.
on, what I'm gonna do is just keep putting out reggae records and just not saying anything and just watch them blow up, and then I go on tour and just
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yeah. And now, now we're kind of getting to the era of like, the 94, 95, into 96 era, where at this point, regarding FatBeats, FatBeats started in 94, and still in like 94 into 95, people's ambition was kind of still to get deals. A lot of the people that were coming by the shop were like, doing demos and playing us music, but, trying to get signed. And then between like 95, between 95 and 96, we were like, all right, well, we started FatBeats Distribution, and we were like, we're going to fund, a lot of these artists and demos that are coming into the shop, because you can do it yourself, and so that really started changing the vibe of people, stopping to want to go get signed and to just put out their own stuff. Shawn J period. I think a couple of your first earlier productions was still on like some major albums, like you were on Mad Skill's album,
Correct.
and did you do the intro to Bush Babies?
Intro, outro, and a couple of songs on
Yeah.
there.
Okay. And
That's actually how I met Mos Def through Mr. Man in
yes,
that project.
Yeah,
So,
and Mos Def was on the Bush Baby stuff. Shout out to Mr. Man. And the big record, the one to me that set Shawn J out there on his path, was the Mos Def Universal Magnetic single, which was at that time for FatBeats had to be our
Wow.
number one seller on vinyl. I mean, the amount of tens of thousands of units that we've sold on that record, and it was a Raucous record, and we were distributing Raucous, but you produced both sides of that. If you can,
Correct.
you can hear.
Correct.
And Universal Magnetic, and the B side was so dope, but the A side was just so much more bigger that was a hit for our scene.
Right.
That was like, and you did them. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. And speaking of recording that, so what's house? We went to Skeff Anselm's house to record the original Universal Magnetic, right?
Okay.
So, and then from that point, Mos, I had my SP. He never took credit for it.
Okay.
But he had the drums. He's famous for going in the studio and just will get on an instrument or something like that.
Yes.
So it was up. So then he was just like, dun, 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 dun. And I was like, let's record it.
Okay.
So recorded long, and then he rapped on it. But we ended up having to do, I think we had to do something, re-record some vocals or something like that again or whatever like that. But it definitely, speaking of going to someone's house and like just starting a project, you know.
So what, you went to his house?
No, Scaff Ansel. But I'm saying
okay.
just
I thought after Scaff you went somewhere.
But it's crazy. Sorry, let me just jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Is that 94, 95, I wasn't even making beats. Like that era is when I started as a fan really locking in. I wasn't even making beats. I didn't know how to use an MPC. So hearing him talk about it, that's like my first like sound bombing one in Toronto. Hearing that mixtape, because we didn't have access to Stretch and Bob or Halftime. So that's how we're locking into those records, and that opened up the whole door. So hearing you talk about that is nuts.
Yeah. And Mr. Man, he doesn't get that credit for, he connected Talib and Most too. They were friends, you know. So
wow.
You know, no one thought, when I found that out, I was like, I always purpose whenever I tell the story to say that he did that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it was a pivotal moment for me.
Yeah.
Obviously a pivotal moment for Black Star, you know, Tyler.
Yep.
You know, but
and speaking of Black Star, you went on and did Children's Story and
Hater.
Players. Yep. On that, you did Artifacts for Artifacts.
Yeah. And a bunch of that, like half of that album.
Okay.
But we were label
Album
mates.
2, right?
Yeah, the second
That's them.
half of it. But we were label mates on Big Beat.
Yep.
And then when we were released, you know, I went into producing.
Yeah.
Obviously, you said Mad Skills and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, you know, that was a fascinating project. But just midway through, you know, like we saying, like Tame passing away, you know, it's just like he struggled, you know, with addiction for a while. And like midway through that album, I just remember, you know, we're going along an album, and then he got hold of something bad.
Yeah.
And it just was like, that album almost didn't even manifest.
Right.
You know,
Rest in peace to Tame One.
Yeah, of course, man. But
DJ
you know,
Chaos as well.
great guy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Great catalog of production right there, Shawn. And I know at some point you had a turning point with how you were making music. You kind of came to a moment where you were like, I am not sampling anymore.
This is perfect.
So what happened?
Right. So I mean, all right. So in dealing with the major, right? So dealing with the major, if you had a sample, they would pair you with people to clear the samples or whatever like that. So obviously certain stuff would get cleared, certain stuff. So it's kind of teaching you both ways. So then as I became more devout as a Christian, you know, I just remember like I just was torn, you know, because I knew I'm putting out stuff. I was hiding, and I was like, you know, doing stuff, and I was already playing stuff anyway. So that was really that. And then my lawyer at the time, Ellen Feig, she was in television. So in television, particularly then, and even now, it was big no-no. Like
no samples,
you know, and you're signing an agreement say you agree that you have not violated a third party's rights, and you know, so the combination of my lawyer and Jesus, you know, But it's good you say that, because I had did an interview with Kelsey, a young producer I mentor from time to time, and we were on Static Selector show.
Okay. And
he challenged me on sampling, right? He was like, you know, why, you know, but I could say now that with TrackLib, like the TrackLib settled the issue for me.
Right.
And because it just says what it is.
Right.
You use this amount, it's this percentage.
Yep.
Like that's it. Like I never had an issue. Like I actually prefer sampling.
Sure.
Like my new stuff is sampling now, right?
Right.
It's just because I couldn't, you know, I wasn't trying to clear a lot of the stuff.
Right.
Like, you know, so that's really what it was.
weren't in a position to clear.
Correct.
Exactly.
So it's nothing against sampling. You
Sure.
know?
No, of course. Of course.
Shouts to TrackLib.
Yeah.
The new album's coming out on TrackLib next week. All the stems. Let's go.
Yeah, man. TrackLib's great.
And so, you know, after on the topic of sampling, Marco, you know, but you've gotten into more including musicians and playing things and
I do everything, but obviously recently I've discovered this world of playing everything myself and aesthetically sound designing things as much as I can to sound like samples from vinyl and to give them to my producer friends.
Sure.
And last year ended off really crazy. Really as an experiment, one day I was like, I'm going to make an album for producers to sample. And the very first composition I made, I was like, is this trash? Let me send it to Preem. I'm blessed enough to send it directly to Preem. He's like, yo, let me mess with that. And then once I heard that, Battery in the Pack, I just started giving him tons of compositions that I was making, like library music, blaxploitation, dramatic, like just whatever. That's the stuff I love sampling. And basically, I made a whole album of stuff he didn't end up using that I'm going to put out in 2 weeks. So and release it to the world. It's going to be on TrackLib for producers to sample. And it's a cool way to collaborate with other producers, and yeah. But I still buy records like crazy,
Sure.
and that's like never gonna stop. But
And let's not overlook the mention of what he used recently.
Oh yeah, so crazy. I wrote on 4 songs on the album. So my compositions were sampled on "My Life Is Real," the first song, "Sons, Young Kings," "Writers," which is my favorite one, and "My Story, Your Story" was a last minute ninth inning. They couldn't clear the sample, and I guess shouts to Sean C. They liked the stuff that I was doing with Prima Nas, and they're like, ask Marco if he could like redo something really quickly. And I had 30 minutes, no pressure to save the song, and I was like, let me whip something up, and they liked it. And so I ended up having 4. And there's actually a couple other ones that didn't make the album, so maybe for the bonus. But yeah, it's wild, man. Even talking about it right now, I'm like, this is crazy. So
Right.
And I'll say, I mean, you're one of our as a producer, you're one of our inspirations with like the pad thai thing and all of the stuff you know what I mean? Like you really locked in. Yeah, I can see how you got to the point that you got to now.
I appreciate it, man. What's crazy is that I've always been a fan of yours. I didn't know you were Shawn J. Perry until you said your name was Shawn J. Perry. And when I saw you, because we never met before. We never met. I was like, he's just somebody helping out. This is crazy. And then you said, I was like, so, bro, I've been a fan of yours forever.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
You were one of my
each other here.
I was
Come
listening. No, we
know that
never.
now,
Do we
sure.
meet before?
Never.
And if we did, it's my bad. But like, I don't think we did.
we have.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
God. All right. But I was
we know
listening
now
to
it's-
your
it's-
shit
it's good,
before I
man.
even made beats. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'm inspired by your stuff as well, man. And obviously your stuff.
Yeah.
And your
No,
stuff,
no,
you
nice
know.
to meet you.
The symphony, man. Come on. Like
Yeah.
I remember like the album cover. Like, man, they get to fly on jets. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Take pictures in front of
no,
jets.
I didn't. I realize that now. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I was like, wow, you know.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Going left for a quick second, when Shawn mentioned Tame's issues with addiction, you actually had the opposite effect, coming from addiction and going straight.
Yeah. As a young kid, I struggled with all that really young. So I would say I went to rehab when I was 15 years old in the middle of
Wow.
high school. I left grade 11 and went to Minnesota to Hazelton. It's like the biggest youth recovery center in the world. Got kicked out in 2 weeks. And then my parents had to put me in a couple halfway houses because when you get kicked out, you have to wait 30 days to reset so you can get resubmitted. Went back for 6 months. Another halfway house. So I was like a year in rehab, really young, and I came back and magically stayed sober.
Yeah, I mean, I would have never known you had any issues in the past. You're definitely one of the very few I've seen in my
Yeah.
lifetime that's like been able to kind of recover.
Because I tried to never be the preachy person.
Right.
Because a lot of these 12-steppers, they get all righteous, and I always feel like it's best to lead without telling anyone, just like, if they ask me, I'm here.
Sure.
What do you want to know?
Sure.
And I was a part of the 12-step world, and then I kind of stopped going, and it's nuts. It's amazing that I was able to stay on that path. I think if I didn't, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Of
So,
course.
yeah, it's crazy.
What's
Rest in
interesting-
peace.
Sorry, go.
So rest in peace to Tame, too.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. And I actually found this out. I was listening to the Richmond Hill album coming in. When I found y'all were coming, I'm like, oh, let me just hear. And then a skit actually refers to that.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was a crazy time. My mom was just visiting. Shouts to my mom, and I talked like they had to like take a bunch of money out to put me to treatment. It was expensive.
Yeah,
Treatment's expensive,
sure.
and I was blessed. I had parents that could do it. So
Rest in peace to Frank Bruno.
rest in peace to Frank Bruno. And yeah, man, it was all a blessing to have a support system to help me like straighten it out early and get it out of the way and lead me on a better path.
Sure,
So
absolutely.
here we are.
And
Hip-hop's better
he's
for it.
super disciplined too. We tore a lot together, and
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people was handing sacks of weed. and,
Right, for sure.
Yo,
For
come
sure.
on.
And I'm 3 years cigarette Newport free. Ask Chip how many Newports were being smoked in that studio.
Yes, plenty. The ashtray was
So
crazy.
that's what I miss the most. But I'm 3 years and change now. That's why you see me a little chunkier now. But I went to the food now. But no, yeah, that was the hardest one.
Sure.
Which is crazy.
So
So
that's crazy.
trying over here.
That's awesome.
All right, back to Ace. All right, major labels behind you, starting to put out independent releases
Yeah.
on your own with no one else involved. How did that transition happen?
So I tested the water with a couple of just 12s.
Mhm.
One of the first was It came out on FatBeats, I
Yep.
think. With me and Buckshot, Brooklyn Blocks, and then I did a couple of things with J Live, just 12 inches, just testing the water. And then in 2020, I got this diagnosis of MS, and then I kind of rededicated myself. I said, I wanted to go out on my terms. I didn't want to go out on the sitting on Chrome, West Coast sellout, all of that that was swirling around. I was like, I want to go out on my own terms because that album wouldn't have been made the way it was made if it was up to
Just
me.
you, right?
So I want to do one more record, and I want it to just be the record that I have in my head. I don't want no outside influences. I don't want nobody talking to me. I don't want nobody telling me what kind of beats to make. I just want to, to rap to, I just want to do it all myself. And Disposable Arts was that record that.
That was the record.
That's the angry. He's so angry on that album.
I'm not angry.
You were angry. Listen to Acknowledge.
It's hard to label something as a classic, in my opinion, that came out in that
way later
era,
in your career, too.
Yeah, it's like that was a classic, hands down.
But wouldn't you agree that if the sitting on Chrome experience and all the
if that went platinum, Disposable Arts?
No. But I'm saying because of that experience, that's why we have a Disposable.
Correct.
The passion and the energy coming off that experience.
Right.
So that needed to happen
Sure,
to get Disposable. My favorite Ace album.
Yeah, I say the same thing for like artists that got jerked. It's like, with like KRS with the Criminal Minded album. I don't think he makes a penny off of that from, B-Boy Records, whatever. But that had to happen to put him on his, trajectory of where he's at now,
Yeah. So. But yeah, so that was the record that was going to be my magnum opus. This is my final joint.
Right.
And I want to go out on my terms. And we didn't even know where we were putting the record out at. We didn't even have a for sure distribution partner or anything yet. We were just in the studio working. And my partner Filthy Rich, shout to him. He's out there having meetings and calling different people. And he found this distributor,
J-Core.
And he's like, J-Core, they're gonna distribute the record. I'm like, cool. And we put that album out through J-Core, and it came out on on Halloween, like October 30th. And by November 15th, J-Core was out of business.
Wait, what year did it come out? 2001? 2002?
2001.
Yeah.
So 25th anniversary is this year. And so, but it was the exact record that I wanted to do.
Right.
And that one record has put a 25-year extension on my career that I would not have had if I had just stopped doing records after sitting on Chrome.
The European champ Ace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, a lot of those records are the biggest records that I perform when I'm in Europe, when I'm performing.
Right.
Those are the records that people really, really want to hear. So
Yeah.
I owe a lot to that album, and that was my first independent experience. Eventually, FatBeats obviously started to.
I'm sorry. Wait,
I dissed FatBeats on
Yeah.
I just want you to know we feel guilty every night when
I don't feel guilty.
when we say fuck. When I yell fuck FatBeats for doing the wax. How are we dissing our label every night on stage?
Real quick pivot to explain this situation. So Ace did a record. I think Socrates produced it. Was it the Ghetto
Like?
Yeah, Sock did that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he did 12-inch Ghetto Like. Around the same time, Boogeyman, who was part of Knotz's camp, put out a record. Same.
Just You Wait.
Ghetto Love.
No, Ghetto Love.
Ghetto Love.
Yeah. And so it was a similar something with some similar experiences, vibe, whatever. And so Boogeyman thought it was a little too close to home. So then Boogeyman makes this record, Just You Wait, that Knotts produced, and it's dissing Ace. Now I'm at FatBeats, and at that time, I don't think I knew Ace like I know Ace now. But I was just like, I listened to the record, and I didn't know Boogeyman. I'm just like, yo, who is this dude dissing our people? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is, And so I hit up Ace and was like, yo, I just want you to be aware of this record that it's coming out through FatBeats, you know what I'm saying? And so I put him up on it, and then the response was
one of the best songs ever. Acknowledge.
Yeah.
I get so hyper when you do that song.
And then also along with that though was the misunderstanding of the High and Mighty.
High and Mighty, yep.
Yeah, because there was, if I remember correctly, they had a show they were doing. I think Cage was with them.
Yep.
And there was a line that was said. It wasn't even on a record. It was on a show.
It was just
or
on a
something.
freestyle, and it was by Cage.
Right.
It wasn't even by High and Mighty.
Right. It was by Cage. It was something, and what he said wasn't even a diss, but it was like a wordplay thing or something.
Yeah,
and
the mic was from what from
Right.
what I was told, the microphones were horrible.
Right.
Couldn't hear every word, and so my people that was there, DJ Rob, Filthy Rich, they were like, I don't know what he just said, but I think he just dissed Ace. And they just brought that energy back to me while I'm in the process of. They're like, yo, this dude from High and Mighty just said some crazy. I don't even know what he said, but he dissed the shit out of you. I'm like, what?
So he's like, all right, I'm gonna add that to the record.
Yeah.
So that, so that gets thrown in the mix. Fuck FatBeats, high and white, a couple of high whiteys, all that stuff. Which actually recently
They made a song.
They made
and we
High
had a
and
little
Mighty-
reunion at the
made-
Fat Beats in the park.
Yeah.
High and Mighty and
Okay.
Ace.
Awesome.
We got a picture.
Took a
It was-
picture.
What's the name of the song? I can't remember.
Which one? Mine's?
Your
Acknowledge.
Acknowledge. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And JS did the cuts on that?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So Acknowledge by Masta Ace is the response record to everything, and
Everybody gets dissed on that. It's
yeah,
great.
it's great records. Yeah, you gotta. It's like The Bridge is Over. You still gotta perform that. You know what I'm saying? It's but yeah, I mean, after Disposable Arts, Long Hot Summer, I mean, Falling Season, there was so many dope records that and the way that you put those albums together is also reminiscent to us of like De La with the
Prince
skits
Paul.
and Prince Paul and just a common theme throughout the album. It's one of those albums that you can listen to the album as a whole and listen to it separately, individually as songs, and everything still works.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
that's why you know all this stuff about me. These are all his ideas. Let's talk about your life. What?
yeah. But yeah, so Ace is here, independent stuff now, and like you said, like it's reinvented yourself to a whole new younger audience and giving you a whole.
And I've never looked back.
Yeah,
Once 2001 and I was indie, I never looked back. I never even had a meeting with another major to try to get back on. I was like,
Right.
I'm doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Everything, the merch, the touring, the your own record sales. Yeah, absolutely. Chip Fu. All right, so now you on the hiatus, recording music with every dope producer that I've known to man, sitting on all this content, come through radio every 5 years, play me like 10 joints, and then I'd see him 5 years later, stuff like that.
The funny thing is that became the running joke.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
And then everybody's like, yo, we know you sitting on a ton of music. And I was just, what it was is I think I got spoiled by the majors.
Yeah.
And I figured that if it came out any other way, that, it wouldn't be received by people. And
Right.
I started putting out, I said, let me just test the waters, and just started putting stuff up on the internet. And I just started seeing people's reaction. And every time I bump into you, you curse me out. Let's be honest. What the fuck you doing? You got all these records.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, you reminded me that I have a whole album of, what's the producer?
Illmind?
Illmind. I have an Illmind
Yeah.
album,
Oh, wow.
like 2
Yeah.
Illmind albums just done. And I'm like, I need to really, think about that. Marco also. We always used to talk to each other about, when are we going to do a record? And we've never done a record.
You
And a
probably
lot of-
have joints I forgot about somewhere.
Right.
But we, and I got to the point I was just like, yo, it's time to just put out music. And here's the real reason.
Mm-hmm.
I've recently got out of my publishing deal.
Okay.
There
Is
you
that,
go.
that particular one?
Yes,
Wow.
that particular publishing.
Good. No more
which
excuses.
was-
Let's go.
Right, which was 3 years ago.
Mm.
And 3 years ago, I just started dropping singles, and I
Right.
never looked back. And I was just like, I refuse to give these people my money. You know,
Right.
I said, I got to take care of the house and
Sure.
family. So after that, I just started putting out records. We linked up,
Yes.
and I'm not looking back. And it's been beautiful, you know what I'm saying, to see that you sit down in the studio and you take your time to do something without people looking over your shoulder.
Right.
It's a blessing, you know what I mean? So
But not too much time.
no, we good. It's finished. That joint right there is done. You know what I'm saying? And not to sound funny, even having a conversation with Shaq. Shaq was like, "Yo, I like how you're able to just send me a beat or something, and
Right.
you're taking your time. It's not like we're rushing to do
Sure.
anything." And he could send it. It could get mixed and get mastered, and things are just moving different. And now I'm sitting in the seat where people are like, "Yo, how is it, man? How's that whole independent thing?" I'm
Right.
saying, it's fine. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
different. It's sometimes you have there's the ups and downs. Or
Sure, of
whatever,
course.
But I'm still that dude that, I'm from a West Indian family, so you got to keep a job. You get me?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just like you do both.
Yeah.
But I'm just now that I'm able to see things through through different lenses. I'm just like, You know, if I was able to do it from the very beginning, I would have done that. You know, to just take total control over whatever, and
Right.
instead of having people just tell me what records to put out. You know
But
what I'm
at the same time, like we were saying, you know, you needed those experiences to put you where you are now, and also, you know, even with talking about the Raucous era, you know, it's like the amount of money that Raucous put into all the releases that they put out.
Yep.
Set everyone up that came out from that camp, you know. So the company flows, the most Def's qualities, you know. It's
That
like,
even applies to Port Authority for me on their
Yeah.
second comeback. They put a bunch of money into marketing that to this day, some people are like, "That's your album. Do you have other albums?" It's like Port Authority is like
exactly, yeah.
So,
So yeah. So let's talk about what's out right now. The EP.
Oh, the EP that's out right now, the beginning of the reckoning. I thank you to all the fans that are out there, family. I call them family.
Yeah.
That, you know, the response has just been crazy. You know, and again, it just puts you in that headspace, man. Thank God, you know what I'm saying, that you could sit and write something and people receive it as is. You know, and it's not being changed by the label or whatever. So we got that out. 2 singles with Shaq, a freestyle with Shaq, and you know, that's taking off, and
Yeah.
you know, more work to come on that. And then the brand new EP, Invisible Footsteps, is coming, so we're working on that.
Yep.
And just filmed the video yesterday. Got a song finally with Busta, because we were trying to see what we're gonna do. That song, that record is crazy. We actually did 2 records. We have an Afrobeats record where I'm just singing on the record and he's rhyming. Then we have a record where we just trying to decapitate each other. You know what I'm saying? So,
Those are the ones we love up here.
so it's and there's a lot more records, and it's funny because now I can actually, you know, go to artists and say, well, let's do a record, and they're like, well, what label you putting it on? And I
Right.
say, I'm putting it on my own little.
Yeah.
All right, let's finally do it. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I'm glad that I'm at that point where
Sure.
I could, you know, because I have my own checklist of people that I wanted to work with.
Yeah.
So now I'm checking them off. Masta Ace, you're one of them. Checking them off where I can actually get these serious records done. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm happy that people are just like, you know, like radio, for instance, just like, yo, as soon as that record is done, just give it to us. So I'm excited.
We are too. We are too.
Yeah.
You know, both from me personally, both from the FatBeats angle of being able to work with you on the album, but then this as a fan, as like, you know, wanting to have that music to play. You know what
I
I'm saying?
appreciate
So,
that.
yeah,
man. I
absolutely.
appreciate that.
So then make sure you check out for that Chip Fu stuff coming, and you also still have what anniversary is this now for Fushnikins?
Man, we passed a lot of anniversaries. Man. And everybody's like, yo, y'all not going to do something? You're not going to drop a record? So I could say this. There might be a single that we drop at some point. It just has to make sense. You
Right.
know what I mean? And I think they have to understand where music is at.
Oh,
right now.
absolutely.
And it's kind of weird to them, like, what, digital? And I'm like, yes, it's, you know, it's everything is just different now. It's not the physical
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
how many CDs we gonna sell? And nah, bro, it's not that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
that's the biggest challenge, I think, for a
Yeah.
lot of artists that have been out as long as you guys have, that have not continued to
Right.
make and put out music, is understanding where the landscape is nowadays. Shawn J, what are you doing currently musically that you're working on? Tell us.
I basically pulled in. I was doing some sound design at a point. May reinvigorate that with drum stacks. But I'm actually in a group with this guy that I grew up with in Virginia called Mark H. Rarity. So we literally, you know, he technically produces too. Like it started out just me producing him, but I'm all in on the group. You know, it's he and I. We about to release some things. You know,
Okay.
bunch of track lib stuff. You know,
All right.
Nice.
because that's all in on that. You know, within the next couple of months, we're gonna do some stuff.
Very dope. Looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some business stuff too, you know, with
Okay.
our partner Chad Bessie, you know,
Okay.
stuff like that. So
Nice. Marco, so you got the album, track lib.
Yeah, the first composition album hitting DSP is called The Many Moods of Marco Polo Volume 1.
All right.
That's February 13th. Me and Ace are working on album number 3. It's pretty close. We still got some work to do. This EP I did with Coast Contra is officially going to come out this
Dope.
year. It had a
Nice.
little false start last year
Right.
and hit the Even platform, but now it's going to hit DSPs,
Okay.
I would hope, in the next 2-3 months. I'm forgetting stuff.
Oh, that's the important stuff.
Yeah, that's the important stuff right now. Oh, shouts to Tor. We have a bunch of music too. That's pretty
Okay.
crazy. So we got to figure that out. And yeah, I'm really all in on the sound design. And you know, you'll see me inside your new MPC and things like that as
Oh,
well.
man.
So, yeah.
Okay. And then Ace, I know aside from what Marco just mentioned about a new album, you also have the play.
Yeah, the Fallen Season musical,
Mhm.
which I took me about 7-8 years to write, and We had a reading of it back in 2023, and then most recently we did a cabaret version of it where it's just the music and me narrating, and that went over pretty well. So I think we're gonna do more of the cabaret versions. We're gonna bounce around to a couple of cities and do the cabaret just so people can hear the music from it,
Right.
hear the story, just to kind of invigorate interest in the actual full play. And so look out for that because it's going to be coming to a few spots, few theaters, a few locations with this cabaret.
Very nice.
Yep.
All right, cool.
That's awesome.
And just to recap, the Masta Ace and Marco Polo Brooklyn Story album is out there, available on FatBeats.com, as is the more recent Richmond Hill album, which the instrumental version's getting ready to drop very soon. But there's a regular version, deluxe version, and then you got the instrumental version coming. And then is there a title yet for the third one?
There is.
Good,
He's shaking his head no because he knows I don't be trying to give up titles.
We have a theme. That's for
I have
sure.
a title. I have a title. I'm just not ready to say
Okay.
it because sometimes a better title comes to me.
Sure.
And so I'm gonna keep it close to the vest until I'm for sure that that's what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can definitely go to fatbeats.com to check that when it is time to get that album. If people want to find out more information of what you got coming up, where they catch you on socials.
Marco Polo Beats on IG, Marco Polo Beats on Twitter. My website is the best place, marcopolobeats.com, where you could buy vinyl, all the drum packs. Then within the Akai platform, you can get all my expansions. I'm pretty easy to find on the interwebs.
Yeah. All right. Ace, what about you?
Masta
People
Ace
want to
Picks.
buy
Yeah, it's a dope
Merch,
sweater.
yeah.
Masta Ace Picks.
Yeah.
Is that on the website?
So the t-shirt version is on my website, mastace.com. This is a hoodie. This was like a one-off, but
Okay.
wanted to see if we liked it and
Right.
maybe we'll do more.
Yeah.
But this is the hoodie. Mastace.com, Masta Ace Pics, PICS on Instagram, Masta Ace Official on Facebook, and just at Masta Ace. I still have the Twitter. I deleted my Twitter, but the page is still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Chip, if people want to find you, where they find you?
Chip Fu, at Chip Fu on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, etc. So I just kept it simple. You know what I mean? I'm hungry. I need to go. that growling that y'all are hearing is the stomach. I don't want to come in here, you know?
All right. Shawn J. Period, where they find you?
Yeah, Shawn J. Period Music, SHAWN, because there's so many different spellings of Shawn.
Absolutely.
So Shawn J. Period Music for Instagram.
Very nice. Very nice. Is there anything that hasn't been covered that you guys wanted to plug? Anything else that's new, or shout out to Shay in the place as well.
Shay,
And happy
welcome.
birthday.
Shay.
And
Happy
The
birthday.
beautiful
Birthday month.
girl.
And
Birthday month.
she got some musical things coming too.
Yeah, she does. Yes, she does. All right, I think that's it. So we're out of here until next episode. Hope you've enjoyed the podcast, Behind the Counter, right here, Fat Beats, fatbeats.com for all your vinyl needs, CDs, and all that good stuff. So Fat Beats as well on Instagram and all the social media platforms. We'll see you all next time. Peace.